Settlers of Catan is one of my favorite board games. Because it ruins friendships. Nah, I'm just kidding. It's actually really fun. I've been a fan of Catan since the early days, and over the years, the board pieces may have seen some changes, but the gameplay is still the same. The game was created by this guy, Klaus Tuber, a German game designer who worked as a dental technician until he quit to design board games at the age of 47. He's one of the most respected and acclaimed game designers of all time. The Spiel des Jahres is the highest award a board or card game can achieve. Think of it like the Oscars for games. Klaus Tuber's games have won the Spiel des Jahres 4 times. I guess quitting your day job paid off. See, kids, follow your dreams, quit your job, and someday you can get your name prominently displayed over the title, just like Klaus. Or Tyler Perry. Now that that's all out of the way, let's focus on how to play Catan. And yes, I'm going to call it Catan. I'm not really sure how you pronounce it, but I'm going to say Catan and not Cat-on. Most board games have just that, a board. But Catan instead has these tiles called hexes. You're supposed to randomly place the hexes and make a different board every time you play. Now note that there is a suggested setup that people can use, but it's better if it's random.
Each hex represents a terrain: lumber, brick, or sheep, aka wool, and wheat, aka grain.
Once the board is set up, the next thing to do is to place these number tokens on each square. Hey, wait a second. Where are the letters? The older versions of the game had letters above the numbers. What? Oh, they're on the back now. Weird. I mean, it's a small nitpick, but why'd you change it, Klaus? The only hex that doesn't get a number is the desert, which produces nothing. The desert instead gets this robber token, and more on him later. Now that the board is set up, every player gets the game pieces: settlements, cities, and roads. Each player gets their own color: blue, red, white, and orange. Wait, orange? Why orange? Such a weird color. Why not green? What, you got something against green, Klaus? Is orange the new green? So you've got the board set up, you've got your game pieces. Now, to start the game. Each player rolls the dice, and the highest dice total gets first dibs at placing their settlement on the corners of any hex they want. You have to play on the corner and not actually on top of the hex, like how you do it at Monopoly. Each settlement also gets a road. The road always has to be connected to a settlement. Settlements always have to be at least 2 spaces away from each other. Your second place settlement gives you the resources of whatever corner you landed on. If your settlement was 2 sheep and a wheat, then you get 2 sheep and a wheat. The goal of the game is to get 10 victory points. And since every settlement is already worth 1 victory point, congratulations! You start the game with 2 victory points. Now how do you get 8 more victory points? Well, you gotta build and expand, and resources help you do just that. At the start of each player's turn, they roll the dice. Once they've rolled a number, any tile with that number on it gets that resource. The player then has the option of building, trading, or buying. Building. Since the goal is to be the first player with 10 victory points, a great way to get to 10 is to build. Remember that anything you build has to be connected to something you've already built. And a good tip is to try and get different resources and different numbered hexes. To build a settlement, you'll need 1 sheep, 1 brick, 1 wheat, and 1 lumber. There's a building cost card that each player gets. Think of it like a little cheat sheet to let you know how much everything is worth. A settlement can be upgraded to a city if you have the right resource cards. You can't build a city from scratch, but you can replace a settlement with a city. A city is worth 2 victory points and doubles the production level. Any tile with a city on it now gets 2 resources instead of just 1. To build a city, you'll need 3 ores and 2 wheat. Or you can build a road. Roads connect settlements, and you always have to have 2 roads in between settlements. If you have the most, you receive the longest road token, which is worth 2 victory points. To build a road, you'll need 1 brick, 1 lumber. Trading.
Hey, anyone want to trade with me? I got wood. Get it? Wood. I hate you so much, Greg.
If you need a particular resource card and you know another player has it, or suspect they have it, just shooting in the dark, you might get lucky, you can offer to trade resource cards.
Hey, Greg. I'll trade you an ore for a brick. Deal. Do you need any wood? Lumber! God, I hate you so much!
If no one wants to trade with you, you can trade with the bank. It's a bit steep though, as you can only trade 4 of 1 resource card in order to just get 1 card.
Still better than trading with Greg.
You can also make trading a little easier if you've got a city or settlement on one of these ports. Yeah, you see, these harbors on the edge act as a great way to make trading easier on yourself, since the only player on the harbor who can take advantage of that offer is you. Now, this is a side note. I hate this new water tile. This is what it looked like when the game first came out. They were tiles, hexes, just like the rest of them. Now they're these Lincoln log shaped things that break apart and mess up the board. Ugh. End of side note. Buying. The last thing you can do on your turn is buy development cards. Development cards cost 1 ore, 1 wheat, and 1 sheep. Each development card has a cool power that you can use. The only cards you can use in the same turn that you bought them are victory points. Every other power, you gotta wait till next turn. And even then, you can only use 1 card per turn. Some let you build roads for free, some let you steal resource cards from another player, and some just straight up give you victory points. But the development card you'll get most often is the Knight. You know, in the earlier games, he looked more like a British redcoat. Ugh, glad you changed that. You'll need the Knight for one specific reason. Remember how when you roll the dice and you get the number and you get that resource? Well, you'll notice that there's one number missing, the number 7. Because whenever someone rolls a 7, they move the robber onto any tile that that player wants. And any tile the robber is on gets no resources. Doesn't matter if they roll your number 3 times in a row. If the robber's on your tile, you ain't getting anything. And if you're the one who places the robber on another player's hex, you get to randomly take one of their resource cards. And until someone rolls a 7, that robber is going to sit there. Unless you play a Knight card. The Knight moves the robber to any other hex you choose. And the best part is, you can take a random card from any player that is playing on the hex you just played the robber on.
Never inviting you again.
If you get to 3 Knights, you'll get the largest army token, which is worth 2 victory points. But watch out, if someone gets more Knights than you lose the token and the victory points. The same goes for the longest road. And another thing about rolling a 7 is, if you have more than 7 cards in your hand, you'll have to cut that number in half. If you have 8, you have to cut down to 4. If you have an odd number like 9, then you can round up and keep 5. Now I know that there are many different versions of Catan. There's Seafarers of Catan, Cities and Knights, Traders and Barbarians, Explorers and Pirates. Catan even went to Star Trek. But I just wanted to give you a basic outline of what you needed to know to play Settlers. And I know I gave you a lot of grief, Klaus, but really, you invented a great game, and I love it. And now you know how to play Settlers of Catan.